Hello, Renegades. How the fuck are you? It is 7:03:13 in Detroit. That was a pretty cool number to run past. Energetically, it's PM in Detroit if you're doing any kind of numbers like that. Listen, um, tonight I'm going to be talking about suicide, but I'm not a medical doctor. And for anybody that's tuning in to this that needs to hear this message, if you are in crisis, you have to call like a 911 or a suicide prevention line. They're there, and trust me, your guardian angels, your ancestors, your galactic contacts, whatever it is that is supporting you to where you're at right now will meet you in those conventional ways. I mean, but you also have to understand that we're still in the 3D and we're still in the world, and that even though we can communicate between each other, that's really a telepathic thing that's back on. And but it's energy. It's not like that is actually here standing in the room next to me, or my twin flame is like, I know that she is out there and we can communicate pretty freely at this point. And but if you're in crisis, you have to be seen, because you're exactly where you're supposed to be at in the grand scheme of things. Nothing is by mistake. And if you're in a renegade class of light, or if you're a light worker, what I would call like just like you're on fire kind of light worker, like you're feeling the pressure, but also feeling the calm, the wave calm, and stuff like that. But there are a lot of people that um, have very dark days, man. They're in situations that are just extraordinary, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how to support people, especially people that are really coming into understanding their multidimensionality and all of these things that are so lucid. I mean, a hallucination is so lucid. I mean, it's like you are there and it's true. However, those things now have to start being represented as like electric signatures and frequencies and things like that, so we can operate in the 3D here on Earth. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things going on down here that are mind controlling, that have people trapped. There's a ton. I mean, these fuckers smile in your face, stab you in the back. You're killing yourselves, and the income gap is just unbelievable. But if you're in crisis, you have to go through the traditional means, and I encourage you to do that, because there's no mistakes. Like, you design this, you have to get to the point where you are able to discover and awaken yourself in such a way that is in frequency and alignment who your higher self is. And then a lot of this going crazy round will go away. But yeah, we're definitely talking mental health, what I like to call the intergalactic nervous breakdown, which is something that I went through. Um, there's a lot of emotional desperation out there right now, and nobody that understands you. You're a fucking island, and you don't understand why things are going this way and that way. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You could be a mother with kids, and I mean, there's a lot of people that are hurting financially out there. Um, there's a lot of, what the fuck is life really about? There's been a lot of bullying. I mean, it's just the energy is really sick, and it's like diabolical and kind of like on purpose. And part of my oath that I took when I, signed up for this mission, because I've been with the Federation for like ever, right? So when I signed up for this mission was to be able to speak my truth in order to protect um, the rest of not only the renegade but any light worker that may be wrestling with like chronic migraines and freaking depression, and the depression is the worst, where you can't get out of bed for fucking days on end, or you know like my daughter lost the function of her legs. I mean the energy is just, it is all over the place. And so when I first, because I again, I didn't plan on recording again today, and I went and I chilled out. I didn't chill out. I went and got behind my drums and started playing my drums, a little bit. And I'm not quite like all the way there today, and something's a little bit off. And I started getting, like overwhelming. We got to talk about suicide prevention. We need to talk about some things that we can do to help curb that. And then with the, what I call the intergalactic breakdown, we have three things where and I'll just briefly go on the future, the prophecy. I mean, if you have the gift of prophecy, that spiritual gift developed, you're looking into the future, but what are you seeing? And if you're seeing the world on fire and stuff like that, that's tormenting you. That's in the past, and that's one of those things that they can use against us to kind of keep us trapped. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but that's in the past. We got to understand, but we're in the now, and there's a new energy here, and that can turn into euphoria, and it's a euphoria with revelation. So, for example, when I listened to Jimi Hendrix's Cry of Love, I mean, there was a point where I was so tapped in. It's like that album was written specifically for me. It chronologically unlocked my life, and it went deep. And I swear to God, I cried like a fucking baby because I knew it was a direct message for me. And man, that set off a whole bunch of events. So we're going back now to 2014, 15 ish. And man, I mean, I established the Awin Trinity. I was gonna resurrect the Temple of Groovesville. I mean, I was there, and it was a tremendous. The euphoria is tremendous, and it's wonderful. And then, but you have these overwhelming responses as well. So we're going to talk about the intergalactic nervous breakdown, suicide prevention. But the thing that just blew me away when I got ready to record this is that I had overwhelming twin flame just energy. I mean, it was just like, my twin flame in my head is going like, you're going to include us in the conversation, right? And I told in a previous video where my wife literally like just moved out. I mean, within a month. And then the energy just started to clear. And it's not that she's a bad person. She's a great person, and I love her tremendously, and we're going to stay friends. So it's not even really like about that. But that energy had to move away so that I could blossom. And then all of a sudden, my twin flame, I'm sensing that somebody is there, but I'm going like, I don't want to be bothered with nothing except my goals, right? I mean, like, I have a defined plan, and it's the first time that I've been able to do it on my own. And I already have like ADD and all this crazy stuff that I've been living with all my life. I'm just going to buckle down, and I'm going to get this done, and I know I'll be successful. And so I don't even want to be bothered. It's too much drama, and I don't want to go through all that shit again. And technically, I'm still married, and so I had to talk about all these heavy things. Um, and so the first thing that came in is that everybody on the Galactic Council, I mean, everybody all through the heavens, it's the first thing they said is like, one, no, Scratch, you are loved. I mean, and you are critical to the mission. Like every single one of you. You don't know what it took to get your seed to blossom and grow and to get you, no matter where you're at, what you're addicted to, whatever's going on in your life. Where you're at is exactly where you're supposed to be at. And the idea is like you're going to have a radical awakening. And when you do, you come into alignment and these things change rapidly. But you are loved, man. And we are the first fruits of God's creation, right? So that means we contain everything. And how cool is that? So that's like the first thing I got, in the midst of like, I really got to talk about this heavy stuff. But then the next thing that happened is the twin flame stuff came in, right? And, um, it those of you that are renegades, you've already been playing with your telepathy, and it might have drove you crazy because you might have been asking people like, "Hey, did you get that message or whatever?" And you had to be real careful with that, exploring that. But now all of that energy is on. And it's also in a frequency that the dark side they can't they can't penetrate it because it's related to your DNA and your signature. It's so, when you want to talk about just God's majesty, that your individual signature it's sacred, man. It is sacred, 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 sacred. It's like no matter where you're at in life. You can look around and you might look around and say like, you don't know what's going on in my life. It doesn't fucking matter what's going on in your life. We are the first fruits of this entire creation. And we were where we're at right now in evolution. We are the embodiment of everybody that contributed to this universe. And there were some really crazy things. But let me get back onto the twin flame. It was really incredible, because I just it was like a really beautiful thought. And in a previous video, the video that I posted earlier today was like 2 hours long. I haven't even watched it. I don't know if I am going to watch it. But that was a live collective channeling session where people could ask questions as we were going along, and as a collective, which you are a part of. And it's something to get used to, is that you're actually part of the collective. So it's not like you're trying to pray at this level if you're on my level, but we still pray. We're at a level, but there's an infinite amount of levels above us. So there's a lot of reverence for my ancestors. There's a lot of reverence for God, period. I don't, I'm not what you would call a religious person, but I'm definitely not in a church right now, and have no desire to go to one right now. And maybe if things were cleaned up, maybe. But the most beautiful thing, some of you are, and it's still beautiful, and that's one thing. Like, I can have my opinion and you can have yours. I know there is a lot of light that is coming. I know people that are pastors and stuff that are doing just amazing work, and that's at a specific frequency, and Christo's frequency is in the fifth dimension. and I operate in the 9 to 12. So that's kind of where that comes from. But anyways, um, tonight really is Twin Flame, Galactic Nervous Breakdown, and Suicide Prevention. We talked about that. And when I was really just kind of thinking, they do this to me again, and I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, I don't want to talk for 2 hours again. They're like, you'll talk as long as we're active, but hopefully that we don't go that long. And I get really pissed off at the council because it's like, you gotta do it. So basically, I have this little agreement that, okay, we're gonna go hard to my birthday, which is 119, and it takes a lot of energy to do this. But if you impose that, it's 911, and that has a tremendous amount of significance for me. So I said, if there's something that's urgent like this, I'll do it. So if I mentioned telepathy, so if you can close your eyes, and this is really cool because I can see the purple haze in the video, so I know that this is something that a lot of people, and you feel your twin flame. And if you're really advanced, you may have already been talking to your twin flame, like they have been going like, hey, mofo, I'm actually here. And for me in the Intergalactic Renegade stuff, that first came from my home in the Pleiades, is where like, if you want to say home base is, but as a renegade you can go all over the place. It doesn't matter, you make your home anywhere. But the Pleiades is huge, and there is a whole bunch of diversity. I mean, you guys haven't seen diversity in like the Pleiades has diversity. So my twin flame has been bouncing in my head, and it was like, wow, okay, well, my wife moved out. I'm like, I'm here by myself all the time, and I don't just want to be bothered at all. And she's like, listen, you don't necessarily have to go through this time alone. And I was like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to be bothered. Swear to God. Swear to God. Okay. And it was like, I'm not going to be playing these mind games. I mean, I'm not going to be walking and talking, telling people that I had a conversation with my twin flame. And she's like, you're not supposed to, asshole. You're still living in the real world, right? And, the discernment comes up. And now if you're around like-minded people that have established those relationships, and you guys can talk freely, which I encourage everybody to do, but in safe, closed circles, I mean, it's like, whatever. So anyways, I hear basically say, like, listen, you got to tell people to connect with their twin flames, even for this conversation that we're going to have tonight, which is brought to you like live. I mean, the galaxy is suffering from this, some of the things that I'm going to talk about. And because I went through them, I may help somebody understand and at least give some tips. So if you are suffering from intergalactic nervous breakdown, or you are just super depressed and there's a lot of shit that's changing in your world all at once that you don't understand, you feel abandoned. Some people are in some very lonely, hard ass situations that are just coming to an end, that haven't come to an end yet. But trust me, in this case, I would say that the Spirit of God is moving, and your twin flames are also moving too. And your twin flames will move that person and that situation out of your life. And your twin flame, and this was like the really beautiful revelations, right, knows exactly where you're at. And if you go two ways with your telepathy, you know where she's at. I mean, you don't know. You just know that you're going to be super powerful together, and that you miss each other like all of eternity, man. Like, you'll never know, do 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 do. No matter how far you look, all the time in the world, the magic that's shown to us, all of these things. And trust me, the music was actually playing in the background. So I listened to a lot of music, and it was like, oh, the Philly sound, and then all of a sudden this stuff is coming out the speakers, and I'm going like, wow, this is crazy. She's like, yeah, just listen, calm down, my twin flame, like. So the message really was is that, take some time, center. Some of you are already like, holy shit, bam. I mean, you locked in as soon as I talked about it. Other people, it's going to take a while to ramp up, but that power and spiritual power, and that's one of the things that's really kind of haunting us right now, is because that power is back on. And those of you that have the gift of prophecy are probably going half out of your mind, because you're supposed to be able to see in the future, but we affect the future with our intentions and energy. It's not like a physical thing. And we affect our future through that vibration, and it goes out, and we manifest it. And that's like a big like part of it, and just like having fun with it and the challenge of it, and whatever you can dream, but you have all the energetic properties and the gifts and the tools that are available, to us and light beings. So, my twin flame, is a little snarky. She makes me laugh a lot, and I don't mind showing it, because I hope that you have that connection too. You don't go walking around a supermarket laughing, having a conversation with your twin flame that's in an ether. Because your twin flame would be like, that's some really crazy shit, right? I mean, like, we're in the 3D. And so we have to learn. That's part of learning how to live in a multi-dimensional world, is learning how to control that aspect of the energy, and nobody ever really told us, or showed us. We had kind of had to figure this out for ourselves, and I went there. And so because I'm on, I can share with you, and I mean, I had some pretty, like embarrassing moments, like in the back of cop cars and stuff. I'm not dangerous, but I mean, just I'm out there. I'm on that other planet, man, and and I'm trying to relate to what's happening to me, and I'm like deep state, man, like as if I was a super natural president of the United States that was so undercover that they couldn't see me because I was invisible, kind of shit. I mean, that's just an analogy of where I fit in on the Renegade of Light side of things, and the clearances, the spiritual clearances that you need to get up to the 9th and 12th dimension. And there was a lot of training that was involved in being able to access those things. But when that shit overwhelmed me, and I mean, it blew all my fucking circuits out, and reality, time, space collided, I mean, and it really happened. And I had to come back from that into the 3D, and then it took me about 4 years to marry my 3D higher dimensions where I was at, and reconnect with my twin flame and all that other stuff. I mean, and that really just, I mean, the fireworks went off by the surprise announcement that, hey, I found a place that's available immediately. And I said, wow. And I didn't necessarily want to face that. I kind of been really comfortable in our life, and even though we had talked about getting a divorce, we really, I didn't press it. I'm dragging my feet. I have a fear of abandonment anyways because of some of the trauma that I faced in my life. And, the, and this to have that happen. And then all of a sudden, man, it's like my third eye, which I thought was dead, just starts jumping out of my head again. And I'm making radical life changes. Like my twin flame told me I had to quit smoking cigarettes on my birthday. I got 2 days and it's done. And she's like, "You're fucking done. You're leaving that behind you." Right? Because I want a long life with you. And hopefully that resonates with some folks out there. That, yeah, your twin flame cares about you and loves you like nobody else can love you. And you guys have been together for so long, eons and eons and eons. And when that's full on, your magnetic signature, your resonance, your frequencies, your supersonic, your acceleration, all this stuff that goes on. I mean, you guys are twisting up. And then when you finally get, I mean, it's like a volcano going off. And we're really excited, to finally, I don't know how fast. I mean, because the other thing that, I definitely got while I was prepping and bringing in the twin flame stuff was that, like, there's a lot of us that are married. And it's going to be like, you're still going to be married, but the power that you create together is going to be more powerful, and you're going to need each other for this next phase, and you can take care of the details later. Just plow, get whatever you have to do to get out. And and I'll tell you how I got that message. Was like, I mean, I'm just a playlist on Amazon, right? The Philadelphia Sound, and the next thing you know, it's me and Mrs. Jones. Do 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 do. We got a thing going on, and it was like, and I'm like, well, honey, why would you be telling me some shit like that? And then it just hit, and it was the collective that really said, like, no, we're going to be moving energy, and the collective and is going to be moving energy. Your twin flame is moving energy. I mean, everybody is clearing out, and it's changing fast. I mean, fast. I mean, like, I'm fast. And so it was really magical, because not only is your twin flame gonna be integral in your life, even through the telepathic avenues that we have now that are back online, but your tribe energetically is going to start to become able to find you, because as you come into alignment, you actually become a beacon. And that beacon is now going to start attracting your tribe and the people that are like-minded in the frequency that are ascending at the rate that you're into your lives. And the most majestic thing about this is that, I got to talk about paranoia. I got to talk about karma. I've got to talk about a whole bunch of things. And it was impressed upon me, like almost blew my head off. It's like, make sure that you let everybody know to invite their twin flame in with them. And when you do that, you connect. And when you connect to your twin flame, anything that you're picking up in here, in some ways, it's almost like your twin flame will, it's not some ways. If you're purple class, okay, if you can see purple, and there might be some of you out there, but if you can see, I don't have any filters on, okay, and if you can see like purple in my eyes, purple around the room and stuff like that, when I'm talking, Apollo 22's talking, if you're tied into like your twin flame, it's like your twin flame is actually talking to you. Wow. Yeah, that blew, man, that blew a big hole. Okay, and that's the way that our supernatural abilities work. That's 5D. Okay, so again, the reason that we're talking about um, the suicide and nervous breakdown portion of it, and it's it's really it really has to be talked about. But it, you know, you have to know that you're critical, and you have to know that, like, I mean, when I say God's love, I mean, it is mind blowing, but that includes everything. And in this world on earth, we are in control, not God. That's the whole experiment of free will, that we are the first fruits, so that we created earth in order that we could actually be able to live in 5D or 3D or 4D or have these different levels of experiences, because that's what made the human experience possible in the evolution. We just have to get rid of the fuckers that enslaved us, that 1%. But these gifts were always here. They were always they were part of Earth's design. So to be connected to your twin flame in a telepathic way and be able to have bilateral communication is normal. It's just normal, and we get bits and pieces of it now, like, oh, I feel like somebody's going to die today, or I told you that was going to happen, and your little premonitions and stuff like that. I mean, it's technically part of those are like bits and bytes of the overall grand picture of like what a 5D is compared to like a 4D choked altered reality kind of thing. That's exactly what it is. um so the twin flames, connect with your twin flames. I encourage you to hang out and go through the rest of this with me, because it was kind of an urgent message. I did one earlier today, and that was really kind of like a free for all, where if you're watching, if you're purple class, or if you're tied in real, you don't have to be purple class, or you tied in real good to the collective which you're part of, then as you're thinking unconsciously and trying to ask the questions and stuff like that, that comes into the session. And tonight, it's a little bit different. I'm not really like up there having court, like sitting around, like the recording I made that's 2 hours is really kind of like all of us sitting around having a beer, or talking over tea, or that, and it's a little bit more urgent on the renegade side of it, but that's really, it was kind of like school. So invite your twin soul in, especially if you're in a desperate situation. um I mean, it's just been bad for weeks. It's been bad for months. Shit is just completely overwhelming, and I mean, I'm ready to bawl, because the energy that I'm feeling is that a lot of people that are going to be watching this, and that are coming, are in some really desperate situations. And I just want you to know that I know personally, as Apollo 22, exactly what these situations are, and I'm seeing a lot of situations, and I think that we're going to be answering a lot of questions as we go along tonight. uh I'm plugged directly back in, and I can see the absolute emotional desperations, the attempt to sort all of these things out. I'm seeing people that have lost kids, loved ones, all these funerals related around COVID and the economic dropout in the United States and around the world, the oligarchs, and it is absolutely playing out like a fucking horror show, and you're all alone. You might not be all alone. You may be in a relationship where somebody's just whipping the fuck out of you. Okay. And whether it be a man or a female, because females, listen, the malignant narcissist, I mean, is 100,000 times worse than a physically abusive relationship on a man. Okay. Wow, man. You guys need to know that you're loved. It doesn't have to make sense right now, but and this keeps coming back over and over, is that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Period. There is a master plan, and it was a plan that you designed for yourself, and you had to go through everything. I mean, absolutely everything. Even if you're still in the middle of the shit, you had to go through that in order to have this kind of amazing. I mean, in order to actually reunite your twin flame and come back together, because we were, as a renegade class specifically, and advanced light workers. This is true for the celestial class, and anybody that's up in the higher dimensions. Not so much just in the fifth. So, I mean, and there's a whole bunch of dimensions between where I'm at, and I don't know, I don't really know that much about those. I can just feel the energy, that it generates, and know that we're all on the same team. But um it's there was there there's there was no way, there is no way for you have to find your twin flame in this time. I mean, some people are real fortunate, and they come together early. That's something that they agreed to when before they came here. But like a renegade class, and women, definitely included in this too. Um, I can hear my twin flame saying, "Yeah, I got a history like his hoe ass, but I don't." You know what I mean? And what she's choking me up, she's saying like, "Listen, I had a life. It's not like what I was doing out there when I was seriously, literally saddle tramp in my biker life, and and just doing whatever I was gonna do. Okay, but and there's a lot of folks out there, and there's a lot of things like sexual addiction that, I mean, literally kind of plague our ranks, really, because we come into the world in a heightened state of awareness. I mean, like, I know I came down the birth canal, man. I mean, I can remember looking in the world. Okay, I mean, at that point, I mean, and a lot of you have very vivid memories of looking out the belly button window, man, and you're coming into the world, and you know, and you have those kind of memories, and then when you start going backwards, we typically get into trouble. But um, everything that you've experienced, I don't care if you're fucking laying in a gutter right now. I mean, it don't matter. Everything that you're experiencing right now has to be cleared and aligned. Now, you know, if you do have to work for it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, oh, I'll wait till my twin flame gets here before I quit smoking. No, she's like, no, you're going to fucking quit. And I mean it, or I can't come. And you have to be able to have those kind of convictions inside of you, and you need to clean up the rest of it, because like she took care of moving so and so out. Okay. I mean, just move them right out. So, okay, she's gone now. Get your shit together, so I can come in, and we'll worry about the details later. And I'm like, well, how fast are you going to be here when I get here? It doesn't matter, because we're connected. We're connected. So just chill out. Know that you're loved. And so if you're down and out and you're really depressed and you can make that connection, make that connection. Make the connection. And enjoy it. Let them make you laugh. Right? Let them get serious with you. Let them talk to you about your situation and what's going on with you. And it'd be like, that is some stone cold, straight up crazy shit. Exactly what they don't want you to know about even how to attract a twin flame in the beginning, where it's really like, it's your vibration, your energy, and as you build in the things as coming up, it's not like you come in the world and you know who that person is going to be. It's the accumulation of all of your experiences. Like, I played in a middle school band, or I like this kind of music, or I had these kind of horrible experiences and I was able to heal. And then meeting somebody with a complimentary on the other side says, oh, okay, so I really need your touch, honey, and you really need my touch. And that could be, it's not necessarily like, oh, angelic and shit. I mean, it could be rough as fuck. I know for a fact that my twin flame looks like an angel, but she could cuss you out, and she's really smart, and like, she's like really smart, and she's really smart with channeling. She's been here as many times as I have. We were locked together. In the ancients, I can't even think that far back. We do have a place in the Pleiades, and we run missions together. Throughout the galaxy. This is what we do. We're old. We live forever. And when we incarnate on planet Earth, we're looking for the experience of Earth. And Earth is the first fruit. It has all the codes of the entire universe, because the entire universe contributed to the construction of Earth. And if you're on council, you were part of that. So why wouldn't we be locked together in the ethereal plane and be able to experience in different bodies on different planets and different worlds, and come to Earth and do the same thing? Now, that's a life of ascended master that's truly got his twin flame. And so your twin flame is that twin flame. And you can connect to that twin flame, but if that twin flame isn't ministering directly to you, because you got to watch for rogue, nasty, dark stuff, like thinking your twin flame's on Pornhub. It's not. That's just an illusion, but I understand it. I had to deal with that too. Deal with it, on a daily basis. Not on a, was that a Freudian slip? Just like, tell the truth, bitch. I've been good, haven't I? Yes, you've been amazing, right? And the reason that I've been able to resist a lot of that bullshit is because I'm coming into alignment, and my twin flame literally is meeting me here where I'm at, even though I don't know what she looks like. I just know energetically when I find her, it's going to be like we've known each other for those fucking million years. And it's going to be like a key. It's going to be like, okay. And it's like all my shit comes together, all her shit comes together, and we're gone. And that's kind of how we operate. We do have to operate with our shit together like this. So there's no real room for uh, irresponsibility if you have the knowledge and the capability to take care of yourself. Okay, but and we are in a 3D and we want this experience in the 3D. It's amazing, especially if you got the 5D powers, right? So that's your twin flame. And for younger souls, that isn't so. I mean, you may live, if you're like me and my old lady, we lived a couple million lifetimes before we decided to unite in, and we have been running missions, throughout the galaxy and been part of sea galaxies and so forth. I mean, before we really decided that we were going to lock it up like that. So if you're on that level, because I was led to say that, so if you're on that level, then just lock in and know that your twin flame is there wherever you are, and they're going to be the ones that are going to say, like, you can't do that shit no more. You can't fucking do it. I can't come to you unless you clean this shit up. And they're also the ones that are saying, I'm working really hard too, because there's nothing in this universe that can keep me from you. But I went through fucking hell too. We both did. And when we get together, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to party like it's 1999 or whatever it is. You're going to change the world. You're going to start a missionary that includes the esoterics. You can, whatever your dream life is with your twin flame, that's what it is. But for tonight, because we're still going to do tonight's thing, it is about the Intergalactic Breakdown. But you don't have to go through your Intergalactic Breakdown alone. Again, I warn you, don't go around talking, outside. If you live alone and you want to have a conversation with whoever, who gives a fuck? You just got to know it's it's real. You also have to be strong enough to understand that we are in 3D. So then when we're outside and we're in just driving our car and stuff like that, about the only person that can get away with walking in the spirit is a Christian in 4D. So that's as far as you can go. And, when even when my psych doctors and stuff ask me now, and if they get onto the belief systems, I just say I have an alternative belief system. And that's all they really need to know. If they start asking for details, you really need to learn how to pull that in, especially if you're going to invite your twin flame in right now to help you get through, even if you're suicidal. Because if you can't shake it and get out by looking within, you're still going to need help, and your twin flame can still meet you in those situations. You just have to be, one, open to it, but you have to be grounded. Your feet are on planet Earth. They're not in the fifth dimension or wherever you're at or wherever you think you're at. And I say that because I know how easy it is to go there. You don't even know how you got there, but you get there, and I did it. I did it. I'm a very, I'm a pretty smart guy, but I did it. And I did not have, at that time, my twin flame connection. Although in the previous video, I talked about how I used to take these long baths in the sea salt, right? The good stuff. And I had a twin flame candle, and I would go in there, and it was fully tiled. It was a really old house, beautiful house, and I'd be toning. Ooh, I have fun when I tone. Ooh, do 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 do. Ooh, and then I'll hold a frequency. Ooh, and it's bouncing off. And I always was looking at the candle, and if I could only see one flame, then I knew that my twin flame was still out of my perspective. And that was really true. That was really true because I was married and I didn't know I was about to have an intergalactic breakdown, but I did. And, my wife got me through that. And I appreciate her getting me through that. But it took me about, 3 years really of some really intense therapy and stuff to get me back onto planet Earth. So I really kind of know what I'm talking about because when you're talking to people, they just don't know where you're at. You're in the clouds. And then if you're really in an active hallucination state, you're literally like, you think you got it under control and you can't help yourself, right? Because, you're on those spiritual planes and you're having fun, right? And you're interacting and you may be fighting something. And, it's all over the place. And that's what's going on is basically you've blown a hole into the 5D reality that without any real like filters or teaching or anything, you get up there and it's like it just starts to take over. And it's very visceral, and you feel the shit. Something's on fire and it's hot, you feel the heat. And there's just no way around it. And it's very real, and it's related to your life. But how do you express that to the current mental health folks? I do believe that we are going to see a huge change in mental health, a huge shift into multidimensional realities, alternative belief systems. There's just going to be a revolution because we're going to demand. That's what a renegade does. He's like, fuck the system, we got to change it. And the younger generations are totally like into like they're going to come on like no problems at all, right? So when you get in, what I'm saying is I didn't have my twin flame connection at that time. I do now. But if you can tap into that as you're trying to sort this stuff out, and if you can discern and you're strong enough, like literally you already know how deep this rabbit hole is. And if those of you that are trapped in some of this stuff, man, it's serious realities on several different planes, and we've never been exposed to it. So if you can trust yourself and you have confirmation and you're completely comfortable with it, take your twin flame with you. I'm really happy that my twin flame is with me when I'm making these videos now. And we are like not in constant communication, but when she wants to get a message through, she can just punch through. She can just pow, she's there. And the discernment is that I know she's not here in the physical. And before my training, I would be looking for that energy in somebody that was really close to me or somebody that I had just met. And, I would like blow up. Like one time I came home and told my wife, like, listen, I met so-and-so and like, I know she's my soulmate and like, we're just like done. Right. And then my soulmate said, fuck you, I'm not interested. Right. And because I was flipping out. So, I've had some really awkward moments. It's funny. My twin is going like, she's laughing like, there are moments that we have shared together and we don't, even like in all the relationships that I've had and all the relationships that she's had, like we have been together for all that time. And when she's needed me and when I've needed her in twin flame energy in the material, we're able to send those kinds of energies because our hearts long for that so bad. I know mine does. I know that even getting ready to talk about this, I actually got a little choked up, shed a tear. Swear to God. I was like, wow, this is so beautiful that the Federation, if you want to call it the Federation, it's not even the Federation, that the collective consciousness basically said, like, yeah, grab a hold because you may be in a very difficult situation. And so grab a hold of your twin flame, who is true. That's true you. I mean, true you. And they have keys, they have things that they can say that nobody in the fucking world would know. And there's a way that they can talk to you that really is a bunch of encouragement, and there's a motivation to get off of your fucking ass and start moving toward that goal, because we're here. And now that basically the communication systems are back on, the telepathy's back on, then we can communicate with our other halves with no problem at all. But again, I warn you, right? We're only communicating energetically, and it's just as emotional. You feel the emotional, you can cry, you can laugh. You can feel the urgency, and you can feel the caring when I'm making bad decisions, for example, because I don't know how to eat or whatever. I can feel my twin flame's impression coming through. And now with the telepathy, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? But she's not standing here. It's not a figment of my imagination. It's just energetically. And what's wrong with having that connection, so that some of the impossible situations that we're in right now, some of us are really alone, and it's there. And I knew twin flame was going to take a lot, but I didn't know it was going to take that long. But I'm just going to keep bringing this stuff in. My time right now in Detroit is like 8. It was 8 o'clock on the nose, 3-0. So, because you may have some guys that are out there like this. Okay, so you're not alone. You're with family. We share memories. Okay, we want the same thing. We've been in the war for a long, long, long time, and we're coming in from the storm. It still may take some years, but we're all here and we're all now. And this subject here is, there's a lot of people that get to the end of their rope, and they basically abort their mission. That's what I call it. It's a mission aborted. And if you're an ascended master like me, who has had plenty of suicide ideation in his life and a few attempts, the world is overwhelming because you just don't fit. And the things that you have to overcome are so tremendous. And nasty trauma. I'm not going to get into my stuff because this is really more about you and helping other people. But nasty trauma, nasty situations. The energy is all over the place. And then the battlefield of all of this stands you. And you got to know that your angels have you, and any, prayer is real. That power is real. Light in any form is real. So if there's light in that little old lady that goes to that church, that is light, and it's beautiful, and it should be beautiful. And so if I'm a biker that likes to party, but my vibration is high, yeah, I mean, there's light in everything. There's no right or wrong. It's a light experience. And the dark is really supposed to balance, because we want that resistance. We want something to work against and work toward, and that's part of evolution. It's just pretty sick what's going on right now in the world, though. You Each of us is critical. So if I would have aborted my mission by committing suicide, what would have happened with me is I would have went back, and I would have been instantly debriefed as an ascendant master. Okay. And then, because I design even some of the karmatic things that I have to work out into my life, and the different stripes that I had to take in order to be able to see, your gold is really your emotional intelligence. It's really the emotional intelligence that, like, all of the keys to, like, this whole spaceship Earth, in our relationship to everything in the galaxy, really kind of works, is through an emotional center. It's not through a linear system, but some of that lockstep system that we went through in the past was what we needed to get us to where we are right now. But our unique DNA helps fill in the grid. So it's like, we don't want everybody to be the same, like a master race. We want everybody to kind of fill in that grid with their specific sonic signature, because that is the power. That's what gives, like, your ideas flight, and being able to go into the Akashic tables and literally transforming Earth, overnight. But for a lot of us, being outsiders, I received a lot of racial prejudice. I mean, to the point where it was like racial trauma, because the rape that happened when I was 6 years old, like, the racial trauma was worse. And so, there's a lot of outsiders that, I mean, just, I have friends that committed suicide in high school, and we all know people that have committed suicide. And why would they do that? And if you're like me, you know exactly. And it's a scary, scary place to be. It's horrible, right? Because if you've been there, just an emotional, desperate fucking wreck. I mean, and sometimes it's like you just slip on a banana peel, and it's like, bam, I want the fuck out. I mean, people that are not enlightened that you're around can be toxic. And, I hate to admit this, but, like, the last time I went in the hospital, which was two years ago, so I'm doing great now. But, yeah, like, there was stuff that, I mean, I literally wanted to drive my van into the Detroit River. I wanted out. It was the end of the fucking road. And, some of that came from another person, that my ex-wife, who just literally, I mean, energetically destroyed me. I'm sorry, there were nights that I was afraid to go to sleep, I mean, it was, but, I had this thing about being together for the kids. And, she was a lot like my stepfather. She could kill you with her mouth, man. Her mouth was way worse than all her crazy stuff, right? But, you know, I survived that, and many of you have survived these relationships too. And even in those, I mean, even afterwards, I mean, and some come out with, if you're like me, with PTS, a pretty good case of PTSD and stuff like that. You know, and these are things that, I mean, really have affected us on a deep, super deep level. And then you add, because it seems like what happens is the more, and this I think is really the key, I kind of feel this is a big key, is like the more we resist, or the more resistance that we get, it's like the more breakthroughs that we're actually making, because every time we get past something like, I don't know how I ate that night, you know, or I can't believe I made it through this time, and I should have been dead, and I should have been dead here. I should have been dead in this car accident. I should have been dead in this situation. I should have burned up in a fire, and you know, all those apply to me, right? So, you know, I mean, the idea is that the whole universe is conspired to get you right here, right now, and yet we, because we're so constrained, when we hit the wall, we want to abort. If I would have aborted my mission, because I'm working off karma too, or sins of the father related to my bloodline, and I know it, I would have had to start all over again if I wanted to come in. And I chose to come in now as a renegade of light, specifically because of the energy and the timing. You know, I've been here many times before, like you should have too. There's, like I said, there's like 3 million renegades of light out there in this class, and you guys run missions alone. We have more down here now than we ever had, but part of the reason that I'm talking about suicide is because we've lost like 2.5 million, you know, and that's like straight from the collective, man. I mean, that's straight from the Galactic Federation of Light Renegades. Okay. Just you know, they couldn't deal it's so dense and so crazy down here, and you got to think of a church, and you're thinking of yourself like this gigantic orb of energy, as we should, with this incredible dongle that's going straight up to as far as you can reach, as far as your imagination can reach, right? And you're connected, and you're going in the ether like this. But then when you're on those levels, depending on what level you're on, you can have, like, there's a level like the fifth dimension, like in your Akashic tables, you can actually go back and revisit history, and you know historical things that you've been a part of, as well as things that you've been working on since the start of time, right? And it could be related to technology, it could be music lyrics, it could be anything, it could be an expression because you're an actor. I mean, it could be, you know, a revolutionary way to clean our sewage. You know, I mean, I don't know what's in your Akashic table, only in mine, but to be able to get there and play around, and when you start turning that stuff on, and you're a wreck, you're now nowhere near into that. And there's kind of been a little bit in the past, and I see this changing like rapidly right now, which is really great. So I'm not going to dwell on it, but there's kind of been a little franchise on this spiritual, you know, stuff, and you got to pay for this, you got to pay for that. And I understand they're trying to make a living or whatever, and you know, ultimately, our world should be able to support spiritual teachers and people on these journeys that want to elevate in these ways. They shouldn't. That's why I believe in guaranteed income, because what if we had a whole bunch of people that were just sitting around bringing these kind of messages in and guiding humanity and lifting the earth, you know, without having to worry about getting thrown out on the street like a lot of the people related to COVID right now. They're going to be thrown out on the street in the middle of winter, you know, and for no reason of their own. And so these desperate situations can put anybody in a suicidal state, And I don't know what your situation is, but I know there's a lot of people out there that understand exactly. I mean, and it's tough, man. I mean, so a lot of people know a lot of people that have lost their lives. There's a lot of people that are going to hear this throughout the galaxy that are right on the edge. And just the fact that you can connect with your twin flame, you accept that unconditional love, you use that. Your twin flame ain't gonna say sit on your ass. Your twin flame is gonna be like, no, motherfucker, like shit's about to change. And I don't know necessarily like what I'm telling my twin flame outside of the fact that I'm just going like, damn, I like really miss you. Like I could really use you, but I'm really in the middle of trying to literally reincarnate myself, rehabilitate myself after a colossal nervous breakdown. And when I say colossal, I mean like I couldn't talk, I couldn't drive. I had that echinacea where I shook. Um, and it's much more comforting knowing that what when I sit around, I'm just like I can't, but I'm like also like yeah, I got a long way to go. I'm not ready yet. I feel horrible. I really just want to be by myself for a while. All that stuff going on, and she's going like, listen, I'll get there when I get there, and it's going to be one hell of a surprise. And we leave it at that. And you know, I also know that she has dealt with suicide. Okay, she's lost somebody that was extremely close to her, and you know, these are the things like she's telling me just a little bit right now. She says I'm doing great, and that yeah, um, things are not only my twin flame, but anybody that's made that connection. They're like chanting, "You are not alone. Shit is coming apart at the seams for a reason. You go with the flow, and you make way for this." Like heaven and earth are moving right now. Seriously, I mean that's exactly what I got. I mean you're going to be making breakthroughs, and you're going to be reaching for your wonderful life. Like probably before your soulmate comes in or your twin flame comes in, but your twin flame and you can communicate and know that you're doing good and you're on the right path. That's why, you know, and know that that's the other big thing is to know that your twin flame is part of you. So it's not outside of you, right? So no matter what, all of the energy is inside of you, and so that you're making the decisions and it's your reality. And your twin flame isn't there next to you in the bed, and in that, and energetically you can share anything that you want, including orgasm is what I'm hearing. You guys want to tie into that? Okay, so let's get through the rest of this. Let's go to the biggest things that I had issues with, and this is more related to, suicide is you hit the wall. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, like, what would make you feel better if you were suicidal? And the one thing that I know that would make anyone feel better is if they knew that they were loved, if they knew that they were cared for, if they knew that they weren't crazy, right? And they could get encouragement, somebody to listen, somebody to help them through the very difficult times that they're in. I mean, just to listen to them. This is a word of caution. You do have to work, man. You got to do the work. You can't expect other people to do the work for you. You got to do the work. But I've got a couple of tactics, like for friends that I know that are just like totally high maintenance, that I just can't do it. Like, like I had a friend, and I have fallen out of contact with him. I'm not even sure if he's still alive, but he was an Iraqi war veteran, and he carried his best friend's head out of the war field so his mom had something to bury. And witness torture. She painted stuff and saw kids blown up and stuff. I mean, it was horrible, right? And he's out of his mind. But with him, I had to say, hey man, I'm just checking on you, but I don't want to get into a conversation because it triggers me. And it triggers me really hard. I just want to know that you're okay. And even that goes a long way, even energetically, if you're just thinking that, especially with somebody who's in crisis. You, when for a short time in 2015, I was kind of like the little guru at Dr. Bob's Psychedelic Shack on Woodward. John Sinclair was up there that summer, and but I would talk to a lot of the kids, and a lot of the kids were having this what I call the intergalactic PTSD, where they were trapped in different battles throughout different periods of time, and they were really trapped in some like wicked feedback loops, is what energy feedback loops, where they can't find their way out, so they're repeating and they're all over the place. And then once they get there, then all the drugs and all that other shit comes in too. So one of the biggest things that really helped them was just somebody to listen to them and not say they're saying. So it's just like, yeah, man, I just spent the night fighting and I'm exhausted, and I'm just exhausted, and like, yeah, but that's an old ass fight, man. You got to get to the day. Well, man, no, it just keeps coming back. I know I was part of the Templars. I know I was part of this. I know I was that. I know I was burned at the stake. I mean, I know this. I know that. And it's like, yeah, so was I. I was there, man. I was with you. Okay, but we live today, and we can't live in that old trauma, nor can we live in the trauma that's happened within our life right now. So we have to know that it's a new day and we live in it now. So encouragement and listening is probably the most powerful tool on the planet when it comes to dealing with somebody that's suicidal. And if you're really dealing with somebody suicidal and you don't trust them, you really got to give them medical help, because you got to believe that our supernatural family is looking out for us no matter where we are at. The idea is that everybody survives until we can get the knowledge to the medical profession. It's just a matter of time before our supernatural catches up with the rest of the learning institutions and mental health facilities and stuff like that. So, you know, we're accelerating, and then when people start going all over the place and they're literally having the active hallucinations and stuff like that, I mean, you gotta talk to them and figure out where they're at. It's like, hey, where the fuck are you right now? And they'll tell you exactly where they're at. Like, it's like 2021. uh and yeah, I know it's 2021, but I'm up here, and they're playing in the Akashic tables, and they're doing that. Or, if you're like me, that's had, which is gets into the next thing we'll talk about in a minute, but I mean, just had people chasing them. But, the idea is to understand their multidimensionality and also have discernment about what is good and what is not good. And what is not good are the things that ensnarl, enslave, and typically generate a lot of money for a couple of people. If somebody's listening to Ashtar Command, cool. If somebody's listening to somebody who's channeling Jesus, like, cool. If somebody's tuned into Baba Rashna, whatever, it don't matter. Like, at this point, we are all tuned. Like I said, the galaxy looks a lot like Earth. Earth is the free will planet. We liberate Earth. We liberate the galaxy, basically. Not good. Oh, no, see. Okay, so that's all I know. I mean, I know that there's a lot riding on this. Okay, so you have to kind of be out there, and you really kind of have to, we really have to kind of get in front of this. And it's really about understanding your friends. Now, I'm a believer in medication. I'm of that class. I'm 50 something, right? So I have a lot of friends that have depression. I have a lot of friends that are bipolar. Um, and so on. And so, it's good to keep the household stable. And this, it's not really, the energy is such now that the medication is not really messing with my ability to tune in. And I'm really kind of thankful for my medication, because before I was calibrated, I could, I could take off, man, and it's real. And then when you come back down, man, you're ready to kill yourself, and then you take off again, and then it's spatter, it's all over the place. So there's three primary things that happen with me, which probably happen with anybody that's kind of grown up their spiritual gifts. One is prophecy is telling the future. So in another video, I talked about how I was making predictions like Nostradamus, and what it was my birthday repeating backwards, reverse polarity, upside down, and then I was able to find all these passages were related, 911 in the Bible, which related to a whole bunch of stuff that I was able to decode. And so, like, man, something was about to blow up, and that's when Notre Dame burned up, and it was a huge release of energy. So, telling the future, you can kind of go in a couple of ways. One, you're seeing hellfire and brimstone, and if you're in that kind of prophecy, you're waking up and you think that's the future, then you need to just like kind of fucking lose that altogether. That is not the paradigm for the future in New Earth. It is not. That shit already happened. Earth has been burned up, not just like one time, but thousands, millions of times, at trying to get evolution to this point where we are right now, where we can literally start creating on our own within a realm that was hijacked from us. So if you're seeing future prophecy that's not really including what I would call New Earth, love, unity, the ability to express yourselves, and so forth, then you're that is coming from past lives, past galaxies. It is a reflection. It's something that the dark side uses, and it excites certain centers in your reptilian brain, so the shit is almost automatic. You can actually go in from there into paranoia, because there's two things that happen. You can go into that world and know it's past, but you can also go into the renewed world and know where you're going, and you start figuring out your relationships, and it's euphoria. And when I say it's euphoria, I mean it's just flat out euphoria. It is just, it's like nothing that you've ever felt when you're dialed in and you're tuned in and you're zooming. It is like you could levitate off the floor, okay, and you feel great. Everything, everybody around you, you're interacting, your vibrations off the level, and you're discovering things about yourself. Like I listened to Jimi Hendrix's Cry of Love, and I think I cried for 3 days. I'm like, the thing was written about me. It was such a visceral breakdown into the crystalline grid and flowing out and up through my entire body, reconnecting me through the fifth dimension to my true self. It was overwhelming. And I knew right at that point, like, shit, I was in on that, right? I was in on the recording session. I swear, shit, he recorded it for me because that's the last studio album that he had. And I have all these synchronicities. And that's absolutely true. What did it for you? That's the question. It's like, what did it do? Did you have an experience like that? And you're going to be like, yeah, and you go there and you're definitely going to La La Land. And typically what happens after euphoria is the dark starts moving in, and you're going along, and now you got people smiling in your face and stabbing you in the back. I mean, just flat out betrayal. All sorts of crazy shit just starts happening. You're gyrating up and down, and going in and out, and then you get into the paranoia, man. And if you're a renegade of light, all of the missions that you run start coming back, man. I mean, like when you're hiding underneath hoods of cars and you're in foreign lands, and you're being chased, or you actually do get blown up, and that starts transferring into your reality now, where you think that those forces are actually in play in your life right now, and that shit becomes real. Okay, you think they're gonna come up, they're gonna smoke you, smoke your house, this and that. That came after the euphoria, and it was, I'm thinking to myself, like, how come Secret Service hasn't come pack me up and moved out? Because I'm, I had certain knowledge of certain corruption in the city and all that other stuff. And then Death basically had a hardcore light trauma, abandonment. I mean, the paranoia was crazy. The paranoia was crazy enough where the Detroit police had to kick in the door, tackle me, shackle me, and then they threw me in a rubber room, and that was for Christmas. I went euphoria. I went to the hospital on Thanksgiving. I think I said this in the last video. Christmas, I was locked in at Detroit Receiving Hospital, which is a shithole, and they pumped me up with this psychotropic that sent me, like, I swear to God, straight into hell. I mean, it was the worst. So I was back in the hospital on New Year's, and that's when I went to hell, and I was judged. I went behind the veil and stuff like that. But so the future prophecy is one that you got to look out for. But it's okay to have all those experiences where you're crying, you're discovering, you can see the future. You know that your bloodline is going to survive all of this stuff. I mean, it's beautiful. You can zoom through the galaxy because you have all of your memories. So if you're waking up and you close your eyes and you can visualize being on a different planet with green skies and red water, and I mean, that was all part of waking up all of those faculties. And then the paranoia comes in, and that's like where you see the shadows in the dark, and you feel the energy, and the energy is literally the dark energy. Is like totally. I mean, it exploits everything, nothing. I mean, and it's crazy, and literally, I'm bouncing off the walls with it. And thinking that they're going to kill me, and they want to kill me. And then when I went in that last deep trance on New Year's, in some ways, when I went behind the veil, it was scary. I had to go through the fourth dimension. And some of you may have done that too, but the best way I could describe the fourth dimension is like an old auto factory, but it's all related to recycling souls and the different institutions that are down there and stuff like that. It's like a really creepy place. I mean, just it's polluted bad. It kind of reminds me of at least the collective is saying it looks like the space junk that's littered around the earth right now. Like if you went out and googled space junk and you just see all the old satellites and the debris and all that other shit. um Karma. So you get through the paranoia. If you like me, they had to shut me down, so they put me in a chemical coma. uh and I stayed in a chemical coma where I didn't do anything for about a year. And that's when I got that pulmonary embolism because I wouldn't move off the couch. I was in a vegetable state. You come out of going through that kind of a tour and you understanding who you are intergalactically, energetically, and you're on the other side. You know the master plan. You've been in the big room. You've been at the table, okay, in those dimensions. You know what every single person in your life has done and why they were there. All of those experiences that you've had, you have to atone for the shit that you did, and that's no easy feat. So if you go behind the veil, you're seeing all of that. And that was the flip side of that paranoia. So the paranoia had driven me to the point where I thought I was going to die. I was either going to get shot by the cops, suicide, whatever, and literally I was going to die or somebody's going to blow me up. I mean, I literally was fearing death constantly on a, like, I'm going to die right now, afraid to go to sleep kind of thing. And so when we get past that and we flip into the karmatic universe and we flip into the atonement, now I'm standing in some place, where I have to go through my judgment, um, and it's scary. But once I got through that, I understood what all of those things meant for me, and it propelled me. It allowed me to go in, and then it was only after I got through that portion of being behind the veil, just like if you like studied the Egyptian Book of the Dead and going to the Netherland, and so you get back there, you figure out, but when you come out, your mind is blown, and you just absolutely have to shut down. I mean, I didn't really talk for a year. I mean, close to it, because it was that trippy. So, and that's usually the point where people abort, they get off. So now, uh, what has happened is that the energy has completely changed in the earth since I went through that. And so people that are coming into their light, into their alignment now, have a lot less energy than they have a lot better energy to tap into. And with these types of messages, and I hope if one person takes this message and says something to somebody else about, hey, I heard you can connect to your twin flame, or these are the things that I got to look out with my nervous breakdown. Now, how did I get back on track? Because, once you think you're nuts and you hit that wall, you really don't. I didn't want to go back into those realms because, it really messed me up so bad. And for me, I finally started to realize that the research and the time that I spent not only meditating or on this amazing oasis of an island that we have in Detroit, Belle Isle, with these magnificent sunsets like every night, feet dangling in the water, these lush gardens all around me. I mean, everything. I mean, just in there, along with staring at the sun and the spinning and, all. I'm seeking this. Like I would seek God's face when I was a Christian. You know, I'm still a fucking renegade, but who wouldn't want to tell the future, and who wouldn't want to speak in tongues and speak a language that is so, that language is my personal root language. These are syllables and enunciations and vibrations that only my DNA can make. And everybody has their own language. So these are more spiritual tools. Not everybody wants to speak in tongues. You don't go around in public speaking in tongues. Usually it's a prayer language. Okay, and that's what it was used for, even in the ancients, or it was used to communicate intentions and energy through the pineal gland into whatever was coming in and out of your pineal gland. So, for example, on the Galactic Federation, which most of you are members, you would see that, and you can get your impressions and different things that are going on throughout the galaxy, which is part of our security system, and break out into that language if you're private. Maybe, this is something that they practice in the Christian church. Speaking in tongues, that's where I learned it. Where I figured out that I actually know what I'm saying, and that it was a root language specifically in my sonic frequency, came with my enlightenment. I had no idea. But this, again, is another 5D tool that's been throttled in the 4D. So, I came out of it really slow. And I came at it really slow. And what ended up happening, because I was really an advanced student that lost his mind going down the rabbit hole, and it took 2 years really to wrap my head around everything. But again, my ancestors picked me up after that last hospital stay, was really where I got my validation, right? So I knew at that point, I knew who I was. I was cool. I kind of knew how to throttle. I came out and I fixed up the inherited house, and that's how I ended up, living. But the ancestors literally set me up in a small house. I got a small recording studio and different things like that were setting force to lift me out of another impossible situation. So for me, lock and step. So it was once I had the security of the new house and I wasn't in the old house where I had the nervous breakdown and stuff like that, and I was on more land, and it's just enough for me to get out there and cut my grass or puddle or whatever, and it's enough for me to manage. And it just started coming back in, like, slowly. And then I just started getting more confirmation and more confirmation and more confirmation. And it was like, I said, okay, then my wife moves out, right? And then, Christmas comes, and then COVID, and I'm more isolated and more isolated and more isolated. But it was really the energy moving out of the house, and then me starting to do what I really love to do, which I went from, I think I told in another video, I went from, like, if you got something like this, it's cool too. Like, but I went from an hour a day, sometimes skipping days, to about 3 hours on average practicing my drums every day, or just playing my drums. I don't even want to say practicing. I don't know how much better I'm getting. I mean, I'm going slow, but I'm doing something that I really like, energetically releasing all this energy around me. And then it was at that point that everything started to kind of well up inside of me, and my twin flame basically came in and was like, yeah, I kicked her ass out. Now let's get busy on you. Let's get busy on because I didn't want to do Apollo 22, and I'm dead set on this other thing. And, they basically said, well, you're going to record your ass off until your birthday, and then you're going to get into your routine. Because there's a lot of information that's going to go out there. And then what one of the things that impressed upon me first was like, man, we really deal with a lot of mental illness out there. It's because we're really trying to live. We're trying to live 3D in a multidimensional world without understanding the multidimensional world and how it relates to us in 3D. And it's supposed to be relate to us, but we're supposed to experience what we have here. And when the balance is restored on Earth, it's going to be a fantastic voyage even in 3D. And 4D is restored, because these are levels that a soul wants to go through. And I'm telling you, it's a magical, we ain't seen shit yet. 3D with a crystalline grid, it's mind-blowing, right? And what we can do as the human race to turn this around. And mental illness is one of those things where it's taken us out. The very architects, the people that should be activating right now, is taking us out. It's just flat out taking us out, and it's got to stop. So my encouragement to everybody out there is like, don't give up. You may be going through some incredible times, and it's horrible, and you've lived through a lot of stuff. You're remembering past lives. You're remembering past galaxies. You're in impossible situations right now. You feel like you're going to die right now and all that. And what this whole thing was about is that your guardian angels are there. Your ancestors are there. These are people that are related to you, that are on this council and in this collective. They are specifically related to you. They're not aliens. They're not extraterrestrials. They are you and me and everybody on this planet. So, they want you to know that, no, you're truly missed. You're loved, and we want to reunite one day. But this is what we agreed to, and this was the cost, I guess, to keep, to get Earth back to the way that it was, but with free will, without any intervention from Prime Creator, from God, with no intervention from God. You hear me? No intervention, because we are God. We are creator gods ourselves. So we were sent here to create. We wanted to experience in the realm of creation and stuff like that. If you're on my level, some people are just here learning how to have faith, or learning, just taking a vacation and flipping burgers at McDonald's because they've been off fighting wars for eternity, and they just want a break. And they shed light in different ways. So, that's a very complex thing about dealing with somebody who is suicidal and in the multi-dimension. But the key to most of it is really asking them, where are you at right now? Why do you think you're there? And they'll tell you, well, yeah. And you'd be like, yeah. And then if it's dark energy, use your discernment. If you're a renegade, like I used to tell the kids all the time, I'm like, you're full of shit. That ain't coming from your inner self. That's coming from someplace else. You need to tune in, You need to clarify some of these things, and you need to drop that, man. That's and have some of that going on. I think I've exhausted everything. I think we've covered the fact that you are loved, you are adored. We are the first fruits. Our twin flames are there. Use your telepathy. It's there. If you know somebody in crisis, get that person help in the traditional ways, and you pray. Okay, if you're supernatural like me now, I just pray now. And it's easy because prayer is a thought, and I can take it right to the collective. And the collective knows how to resolve that. And I'll leave with this story is, I have a daughter that found me this summer, who's 35. I had no idea she existed. She found me through 23andMe. And I met her on Thanksgiving. It was great. She's wonderful. Got beautiful kids, man. And man, she looks just like me. She's like me, but you can tell that, she's battle worn, just by the way. So I keep the vibration up. But just before Christmas, I get a call and says, Dad, I'm in the hospital and I can't walk. They had to come get me from the ambulance. I just can't walk. And I said, wow. Like, that's crazy. What do you think it is? And she's like, well, it's that functional neurological disorder. And I says, okay. I'm really upbeat and very high vibrational, right? So I said, okay, kid, and we talk every day. We talk every day, and I try to, do that. And it was a lot of listening, a lot of heavy stuff. And then what happened is that she couldn't go to this one place, so they were going to put her in a skilled nursing home, and they shipped her to one. And this place was ugly, right? I mean, it was like, just like some straight up, ghetto shit basically, but it's not in the ghetto, but it was that old building, old doors or whatever. And she's like, I can't do this mentally, I can't do this anything, I can't walk, I can just wiggle my toes or whatever. And the energy is constantly flowing through me. So with this particular child, I'm constantly, correcting the sales, right? I mean, it's a challenge because you got to understand this. I'm like, well, you setting yourself up for defeat. It's definitely mind over matter. But in this case, she thought that basically she was really gonna die. She was gonna make it through. She wanted to leave. Having suicide ideation. She couldn't say. So she's on the phone with me, and I said, you know what, honey? I says, maybe you'll just get pissed off enough to just get up, use your legs, and leave. I don't like the place either. I think it sucks. And I says, I've seen this happen. I says, you let that fear override everything in your body, and you get up and you walk out of there. And she was really kind of defeated, right? But she's calling her husband and saying, come pick me up, this or that. And then she got to the point, she's like, okay, I'm going to take an Uber home. And she got her ass up and she scooted up the stairs and all that other stuff. And when I talked to her others walking, I says, you know what? That's a miracle. She's like, what? It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's nothing less than a miracle. I said, you went in the hospital. You couldn't move your legs. You couldn't walk. And you had to, this is the majesty of God, man. I planted that seed. Is get pissed off enough, get scared enough, you'll get up and use your legs, And instantaneously that happened, man. The reptilian brain, who were incredible architects and incredible contributors to our design, that overrid everything in there. And yeah, she's got to go through physical therapy and stuff like that, but that's even conversion, right? At some of that conversion disorder, where literally your brain is so clogged up with the mental illness that it starts shutting down functions. I mean, I got friends that twitch and can't talk, and I couldn't talk, so that's how powerful that energy is right now in the earth, that we really can move mountains and we really can create whatever we want right now. But we have to be friends to people that are in mental illness crises, just period. And take our twin flames. If you're in a mental illness crisis, you feel like you ain't got nobody that'll understand you, the one person that will understand you is a twin flame attached to her or his energy, and you hold on to that until that person comes in your life, manifests. That's how you manifest anyways. But you hold on to the image you're doing. You got to understand that person ain't coming to fix you. They're coming to be an addition and amplify the signatures that you guys decided to create. And if you're like me, My twin flame and I have been together for eons and eons and eons, and I can't wait to see what she looks like in this life because we don't know what we each other look like, and I can't wait, to see all her little mannerisms, like like how she moves her mouth and how her eyes might look, and just everything about her that that I'm gonna just be able to sit there and look at. I mean, I can't wait to channel and watch her channel and do energy work and keep my ass organized, as I inspire her to do things, and I work for her. Um, so that was I didn't expect to go this long, but it is what it is. The collective is, I think everybody's good. So yeah, it's PTSD is real. Galactic PTSD is real. A galactic nervous breakdown, multi-dimensional, is very real. The three things that I had the most problems with was the prophecy, going into the future, going into the past, paranoia, dark energy, the backstabbers, people that you trust that just, I mean, and if you're really going up in energy too, one of the things that you'll figure out is that you can excite dark energy like nobody's business, man. Like you'd be walking next to somebody who's really suffering in that dark, and they'll go off on you, or just I mean, there was one guy, man. I thought he just, I mean, literally, he went off so bad that I thought that literally I was gonna get, like, his fists were gonna be like meat grinders on me. And I was just like, what the? I mean, it was crazy. And he was a musician, and we were connected on that ethereal plane, so we thought, and but no, man, the guy had some serious damage. Just it was just damage. It is what it is, damage. And I won't get into some of the things around the relationships, but it was just really damaged. So that's it. So intergalactic nervous breakdown. We've got suicide, and the big thing is love, light. Make sure that just check on people that that are struggling. Don't connect to their energy, but just check on them, encourage them, um, use the energy that we have right now, in this realm, and yeah. Anything else? Nope. It's getting real quiet. Isn't that beautiful about being able to connect to your twin flame? That was totally unexpected tonight. Actually, it was really totally unexpected. It was like one of those things, like, well, you and I do it. And then it was like the collective lit up, man. It was like all the other twin flames, man. They were like, I was like, wow, is this a popular subject or what? So let's do that. But I had to deliver this one. We'll get into other things. I can't wait to see. It's 8:55:45 in Detroit if you're tracking this transmission. And all right, I'll catch you guys later.